Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
1, 2, 3, I got big booty bitches, big booty bitches. I got big booty bitches, big booty bitches. I got big booty bitches, big booty bitches. I got big booty bitches,
Masterpiece, Carl.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What do you know what is a masterpiece? Us being at 4-2. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Patriots Touchback Podcast. It is season 3, episode 25. We're here to do our review show on the big W because the New England Patriots get through the track game, get through the banana skin game, whichever way you want to call it, and we beat the New Orleans Saints down in the Big Easy, 25 points to 19. We've got Kieran with us on for this one. Everybody else has gone on IR, so wish them all the best. Hopefully they'll be back next week. But we've got 3 people in the building. Make sure you smash the like button, Gronk spike the subscribe button, tell your friends, follow us on social media platforms. Make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple. We are still on the road to, let's get to 100 subs by the end of the season. I'm pretty sure we're starting to get a slight little bit of a following. So yeah, we've got a lot to do tonight. How's your weekend been, bud?
Yeah, pretty good. It's nice to have enjoyable football again, enjoyable competitive football. And when you can come on a podcast today and open with an iconic video that has about 11 million views on YouTube. I just remember that video when I was a kid, and as soon as the game finished on Sunday, I texted Carl and was just like, "This is what we've got to open with on Tuesday." Big booty bitches.
I generally thought this was something you downloaded to me from Pornhub because I was like, I'm not sure what to do here. Is this something right? And I was like, I remember this. And then I don't remember it, but anyway, it
was like early days YouTube nostalgia, very poor video quality. But I just remember that from when I was in high school. I was thinking, oh, that's just so perfect for this weekend.
On a camcorder. That was recorded on a camcorder or a really, really bad camera phone, like a fucking Sony Ericsson Walkman or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we've got a cracking show lined up for you tonight, guys. Big up to Dante Terrell. Patriots must have some money. What, for us to make that intro? Or
I know who that is. Dante's a good friend of mine. He's a Buffalo Bills fan. So,
my condolences.
Let's just say he's not been too happy the last couple of weeks, and has been giving me a lot of evils since the win. But thanks for tuning in, mate. And thanks for first place in the division. Thank you to the Atlanta Falcons.
We are blessed. Atlanta
so much after
Atlanta has done us a favor.
And still done us a favor. They continue to do us favors even 8-9 years after 28-3. So,
which, by the way, just for this season alone, I don't think we can now use that scoreline. Just for this season alone, they've actually done us a favor. So let's give them their credit where it's due. Okay, they've done what we asked them to. Well, we didn't specifically ask them, but we hoped they would do something against the Bills. And not only that, Bijan Robinson. We got to deal with him in a couple of weeks, by the way. So we've got a that's going to be a tall order to go to. Anyway, let's crack on with this match, shall we? The Patriots win 25 points to 19. We've got a lot to talk about in this game. Chief among which, we've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, Kayshon Boutte with his coming out parade. How ironic is it? He has his breakout game, and it was in New Orleans because he was an LSU kid at college, so kind of just made sense, really. Pop Douglas as well, the shadow we haven't seen all bloody season, if any pops up, pause and gets and gets two touchdowns. It's like, what the crazy hell is going on here?
We did something, wasn't it?
About time we did do something. But no, we're glad and very, very, very happy for that. Oh, sorry, Douglas only got one touchdown, but it was a big one. It was a big one. Let's put it that way. The line was fantastic. Defensively, we were all right. I wouldn't say we were great, but on the flip side, we only gave up 19 points.
That streak is continuing, isn't it? No more than 21 points on defense all season.
I think that's kind of what we're doing it now. I think if you get over 20, if our defense holds a team to 21 points and we just score like we are right now, we will win games. It's not like it's going to be tricky.
It's going back to the old, Belichick era defenses, the kind of the bend but don't break. We did have some fantastic defenses in the Belichick era, particularly in the year that we won the Super Bowl in 2018. But even the years where we weren't like a top 10 defense, we gave up a lot of yards, but we didn't necessarily give up a lot of points and a lot of scores. So for us to hold every team we've played this season to under 21, obviously, yes, Miami scored 27, but one of them was a punt returns. That's not on the defense. I think it's got to make that clear. So to do that, and you make a good point, Carl, 20 points is enough to give your offense a chance to win the game. And we've showed this season that if we don't do stupid things like fumble 5 times, then we will win more than we lose.
We'll win games.
The defense is keeping us, giving the offense a chance to win games. And, in the Saints game, obviously the first half was a little bit to in and throwing, but we really clamped down on Spencer Rattler in the second half and, forced a crucial fumble on Jawan Johnson. I was definitely wrong in our previous show last week where I said he was going to go off against us. He ended up helping us more than anything. I think we've got to be very happy with the defense. Giving up yards is all very well. Duggar giving up the deep bomb early in the game in the first couple of minutes, but it's okay giving up yards if they don't put many points on the board. And we seem to be giving up yards, but restricting them to field goals, which is fine.
Which is what you need to do anyway. Let's first start off with, I think because the title speaks itself, we're going to start off with I think we might as well call it the Boutte Club now, shouldn't we? Because Kayshon's now has come out and absolutely blew it up. 5 receptions, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets. He literally got all 5 of his targets perfect. Just a faultless display by him. We've been waiting for a performance like that for a very, very long time from Kayshon Boutte. But some of his route running in that game was flawless, absolute flawless.
Yeah, and it just shows exactly what happens when you actually give him the ball. We saw the week 1 performance and thought, he could go on to potentially be a sneaky shot for 1,000-yard season. He then dipped off because he was getting 1-2 targets a game, which I don't understand. Everyone was saying if you actually give the guy the ball, he'll make plays. In that Miami game, he had an outstanding touchdown catch, but it was his only reception of the game. And the fans have kind of been and even the media too, why aren't we feeding him the ball? He's proven that every time you throw it to him, he's going to get it. And once again, Drake targeted him and he came up with 2 fantastic catches, and he's turning into not just a dependable receiver, but a playmaker now. He's not the fastest, he's not the biggest, he's not the most dynamic receiver in the world, but he is damn good and he's damn reliable and he makes big time plays. I think, Carl, I heard a stat that only 2 of his catches this season have not been for first downs or touchdowns. I mean, that's insane. That's the definition of clutch. He's either catching the ball to pick up a first, or he's in the end zone. I mean, that's just remarkable.
It is remarkable. And he also Maye also sent Boutte on a key 3rd down to ice the game with a 21-yard catch, which, by the way, but don't worry, all is not lost. We will get onto the officiating later on because we've got a lot to speak about that, even though we won, but still, I fucking hate it when the officials try and dictate the game. But let's start with us for the time being, get ourselves sorted out of the way. But no, Boutte was just This is absolutely phenomenal. He was on Saints corner. Quincy Riley throughout that game. He attacked Riley's leverage, and Maye hit him in an open void for a touchdown. Which he took a bit of a shot when he got into the end. When he got to the half yard line before he crossed the plane, he did take a shot, but luckily he held on and then he went down into the end zone. I mean, that was for his second touchdown, I think it was, off the game, very late in the first half. But Boutte overall, his as I said, his route tree was absolutely phenomenal. And we've been saying for a while, well, I've been saying for like the last few weeks now, we are expecting at some point for Drake Maye to start dropping bombs. When it was going to be, I don't know. And it was so conveniently, he dropped like 2 or 3 of them in the Superdome, which is quite ironic, really, because that's usually the place where quarterbacks say, okay, we're in an indoor arena, it's no wind, let's just air this out and let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's nice to see him sort of play with the shackles off a little bit. And I wonder if a bit of that has been Josh McDaniels starting to, feel like Drake is more comfortable in the system. And he was dealing absolutely all over the place. Credit to the receivers too. I mean, Pop Douglas was, wide open on those 2 deep plays, and then made a couple of guys miss as well, which is what you want to see from Pop. So yeah, it's nice to see that the shackles coming off, and it's not just resulting in Drake sailing it over people's heads or throwing it straight into a safety's hands or whatever. They're starting to dial things up that are working now, almost back to, I hate to use this reference, but when Brady would find Edelman down the field just wide open, Amendola, Chris Hogan, players that just seem to just like Brady would just uncork one down the field and there would just be like Chris Hogan wide open down the sideline. And it's nice to see that now. And you wouldn't necessarily think that Pop Douglas is going to be a player that's going to stretch the field for a 50, 60-yard touchdown.
I think he realized. I also think it. Yeah, I also think he realized as well that Efton Chisholm was playing as well. And if he made any mistakes or he got quiet, it was a good chance that he might be slowly losing his snaps. But no, Efton Chisholm did play for anyone that was viewing. It was only in kickoff returns. He was running in quicksand as far as what I was seeing. I don't think he was.
Chisholm, he ran a 4.7 in college. He's not a fast guy. He's kind of just shifty between the numbers, and he's someone with a quick release and quick footwork, and someone who can separate fast over the middle. But he's not going to be someone that's going to stretch the field. And on a kick return, if you're running a 4.7, like you're not going to burst clear of someone. This is not a speedy returner that's going to blaze someone. So I kind of get that, But it's nice to see how they're using the receivers now. Mac Hollins seems to be playing this kind of hybrid tight end receiver role where they're lining him up kind of sometimes in the backfield, sometimes as a tight end in the slot. Like I prefer that to just Mac Hollins playing out and out as a wide receiver. Like if they're going to move him and use him as a hybrid tight end, like I've got no issues with that whatsoever, because we only have 2 tight ends really on the roster, because Jack Westover now is basically considered as a fullback. Even though I don't think he's necessarily a great one, because I just don't think he's big and bulky enough.
He's not. He's definitely not. He's definitely not James Devlin. Let's put it that way.
So that maybe that's why you're seeing Hollins line up more as a traditional tight end. But yeah, it's nice to see how they're being used. And Boutte, like there must be something about the Louisiana air that just turns him into a fantastic player. Because when he was at LSU, he was a huge talent, once regarded as a first-round pick. His first game back in his home state where he played college, and he went off. Like maybe this is something in the air,
or maybe it's the gumbo and the Cajun shrimp. I don't know, but
maybe,
maybe. Boutte, well done, absolutely.
I think now. So how many? He's in his 3rd season, right? So he's got 1 year left on his contract, which makes him extension eligible after this season. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it does.
We've got to get that done. We've got to get that. I don't want to risk losing him in free agency in a year's time, and he rocks up, goes and plays for his hometown Saints or whatever, and ends up developing into a big player. The guy's 23 years old. He's in his 3rd season. and he's still only 23. We have to get that extension done. They've got to try and sign into a 4 or 5 year extension because he's not even in his prime yet, but he's really kicking on now.
No, he definitely is. But Diggs is always going to be the wide receiver 1. Now it's time to work out who's going to be the 2. It looks like that's going to be Kayshon Boutte from this point forward, hopefully. There's 2 receivers now that, Drake will be able to rely on. Diggs didn't have much of an impact, but he did make some catches when we needed him to, because it was like, where's Diggs gone? He's gone disappearing for like one half. I never saw him. Then he got the first catch in the start of the second half. Let's move on to Drake, because once again, I keep running out of words to say about this kid. I keep running out of words. In these first 2 quarters, Maye was at 11 of 13, 185 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and a perfect 158.3 passer rating, and plus 17.6 total expected points added. Maye was just so good that apparently Christian Barbour was saying he's jumped off the bench on the Patriots sideline multiple times as he saw Maye was dealing. The team absolutely love him. And he was, let's have a look. It was Maye's deep ball that caught the eye. Despite his big arm, the Pats QB was only attempted a deep ball on around about 7% of his throws in the first 5 weeks. Although it's a low deep pass rate, Maye was 9 of 12 with an elite 96.9 PFF passing grade on deep balls. So it was a great deep ball thrower who needs more volume. On Sunday, Maye was 4 of 5 for 128 yards and all 3 touchdowns on deep passes. He also had 2 other deep completions that were wiped off by iffy penalties. Again, we'll get back to that later on. If the deep passer was a 53-yard touchdown to Demario Douglas. As I said, we're running out of ways to write about what Maye's year 2 leap would be. Here's a question I'll throw to you now, and I probably know it's probably going to be said at some point, but we'll bring it up now. Really. MVP conversation?
Without a doubt in the conversation. Interestingly, he is 4th now in the overall betting for MVP at 9-1, I believe. That's been cut from 14-1 at the weekend after last night's performance from Josh Allen, actually, because Allen was still the favourite last night, but it's changed since then. I definitely think if he continues what he's doing at the moment, because it is unprecedented, we're talking like he's like only the 3rd or 4th player in history that's on this stat line in terms of the passer rating, in terms of the yards, the completion percentage, in terms of the touchdown to interception ratio. Like what he's doing is like completely unheard of. Like I think it's only like Tom Brady and one other that have done this. Like I can't remember the exact stat. So if he continues this form, especially with the schedule we've got, 100% in the conversation. Will he win it? I still don't think so. Unless like he just goes ham for the rest of the season. Personally, right now, after 6 weeks of the season, if I had to pick an MVP, it would be Baker Mayfield. I think he deserves it. When you see the other night against the 49ers, who only lost 1 game all season, when he doesn't have no Evans, no Godwin, no Ibuka, no Bucky Irving, and 2 starting offensive linemen, was throwing to Bill and Ben, the flower pot men.
And we're still getting touched now. Bill and Ben, but Bill and Ben are bloody good. So
yeah. So for me, I think Baker. I think Patrick Mahomes is now the new favorite, just ahead of Josh Allen, then Baker, and then Drake.
What a surprise!
But for me, Baker is the favorite at the moment. But certainly think he's in the conversation to do it if he continues like this. It's good. I think the fact that he's even being talked about as a potential MVP candidate is a huge positive. Not only for him, but for the Patriots as a whole. But I think he's an absolute shoo-in at this stage for a Pro Bowl. So if you look at the state of the AFC at the moment, you normally have 3 quarterbacks per conference get nominated. Okay, AFC is a bit of a shit show at the moment in terms of the standard. So who's realistically going to get in? Probably Patrick Mahomes, probably Josh Allen. Burrow and Lamar aren't going to be in contention this year because of the injuries. They've not played enough. So that leaves the 3rd spot up for grabs. And I know the likes of Justin Herbert and Daniel Jones have, been pretty good this year, but not as good as Drake May. So I certainly think May could be the third AFC quarterback in the Pro Bowl.
Pro Bowl, maybe second team All Pro, potentially.
Potentially could be a second team All Pro.
The sky's the limit for him, and as I said, we got a bit of a cakewalk schedule. You got Tennessee next, and you got Cleveland. Then we got to play Atlanta. I think the Atlanta game now doesn't look as clean cut as we imagined.
No,
the only thing I would say was, because I was watching that last night, Barrow, because I had tribalism running through my veins, so I was cheering on Atlanta to win. Was that when Penix was playing against zone coverage, he was just carving everyone apart. You do man on him, and he's constantly trying to get Drake London. Gonzo's going to be on Drake London all game.
Yeah.
And we got to try and stop the outside zones of Bijan Robinson. But that is a preview for probably a few weeks' time.
Was one going into the season that was always probably the biggest coin flip out of all of them. Like, some people had a win, some people had a loss. Like, I think the key factor is we're at home in that game, and Atlanta are much better at home than they are on the road. They really struggle on the road.
True.
And I'm still not sold on Michael Penix, to be honest. Like, I don't think he's that good. London is great in spells, very streaky as a player. Bijan, elite, obviously. And their defense has been, reasonably good. I would still fancy us in that game, but I think that's probably the trap game of all of them coming up. If you look at the remaining fixtures, I'd back us against Titans, against Browns, Jets definitely. I don't think we'd beat the Bucks. I'm pretty sure that we'll lose that game. But Atlanta's the only one of them that I think is potential a trap. But us being at home against Penix, look at what Carolina did to them when they went on the road. Like, they're not great away, so I still fancy us there. But yeah, they're not bad, and obviously they've done us a favour last night. But yeah, the schedule, as you said, is really light. I mean, with all due respect to the Titans, we've been joking calling them the tits this year. They've fired Brian Callahan. They've appointed Mike McCoy. That's a real throwback to anyone that remembers when the Chargers were in San Diego.
Yeah, 27 of 37 as a head coach.
Yeah, so I know, because you said this in the chat the other day, Carl, about you fear a new manager bounce like you see in English football and whatnot, but it's not quite the same because you don't appoint a permanent manager mid-season, and that roster is still so shit that we should go down there.
And it's injured as well. Calvin Ridley is injured, so bang goes their best receiver.
And trust me, Vrabel's going to want to win that game more than most. I mean, he even said it on his.
He played it down. He basically said it's an interesting game, so an important one. It's an interesting one. I know deep down inside, and in that big brain of his, he's thinking, "I want to just."
He said on the interview the day after the game, when he always goes on that in-house radio show,
WEI.
WEI.
The lesser of two evils.
He did make a reference to say, like, this obviously is a game with a few more, like, not added implications, but like it's a bit different. Like, he knows that they treated him like shit, and his replacement has been an absolute disaster. Like, they never should have fired him.
Replacements
have been
not just the replacement of the coach. Replacements.
Yeah.
GM. They've turned two GMs over. They've now turned two coaches over.
So, like, he knows, like, he's at the last laugh, basically. So I can imagine he's going to get this. We're riding a 3-game winning streak. He's going to want to go to Nashville and kick him in the bollocks, basically. So, Drake's got a real opportunity now to really stack some stats up. I really think so.
Definitely has. The defensive side of the ball. Okay, we only gave up 19 points, which is 1 touchdown, 4 field goals, which is cool. No issues with it. It's bend, don't break. But I just felt there was something wrong with that defense. So basically, where am I? Where's my notes? The game first of all started with that 53-yard bomb from Rattler to Chris Olave. Well done to Carlton Davis. They're going to blitz, and you left Kyle Duggar on an island. That was very stupid. As soon as I saw that go off, I was like, oh no, is it going to be one of these days? Is it going to be one of these games where it's like it's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? And at some point, I thought it was, but we was able to sustain our drives, or rather, Drake was able to get the big bomb into the end zone a couple of times. But the Patriots, they also blitzed Rattler often in the first half, which they did. Rattler has struggled against the blitz in his first 5 weeks. But he went 5 for 8 on 90 yards against the blitz on Sunday. So it looks like
just
Rattler
credit
was,
Spencer Rattler, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, we spoke about this the other day on our preview show with Dome Patrol, that he has perhaps exceeded expectations, but genuinely, he looks like he could be a franchise quarterback. And I'm not saying like a high-end one, but he looks like he could be a more than serviceable starter if they put enough around him. Like, he was making some really nice throws in that game and making good decisions. And like, he genuinely looked a lot better than what I thought he would do, which is great because he was, what, a 5th-round pick? I know once considered to be drafted higher, but obviously transferred from Oklahoma to South Carolina. I just thought he was pretty good. Like, I don't think he did an awful lot wrong, to be honest. They just don't have a lot of talent around him.
Yeah, 20 or 26, 227 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He did get sacked twice, but only for a loss of 4 yards. And a QBR of 72.1, passer rating 102.6. So I thought Rattler was doing really well. But the talent around him, I mean, Chris Olave gashed us, really. 6 receptions, 98 yards.
But this is one we spoke about in the chat, Carl, with Chris Olave. Was you know, we were expecting Christian Gonzalez to shadow him pretty much the whole game. You know, it's another thing we spoke about on our preview show, and yet they were doing absolutely everything they could to keep Olave away from Gonzo.
Yeah,
like, he wasn't just lining up in his traditional outside position. They were moving him into the slot. They moved him from the right side of the field to the left side of the field. He lined up in the backfield a few times. Like, they were literally like, right, what can we do to get Olave away from Gonzalez? And you see him make those big catches. You know, 6 for 90 yards, something you said. A lot of that was against other corners or being wide open against linebackers. Like, he didn't really do much against Gonzo, and I don't blame the Saints for doing that. They've clearly identified an elite corner, said, right, we need to get our receiver away from him if he's going to be a factor, and they did well to game plan that, and they did get him open. And then obviously he had the drop in the end zone. It was a little bit overthrown, but he's a good player. Like, you know, he's a very good receiver. I'm not sure if he'll be there long term, but that's a good weapon for Rattler.
Well, since we're talking of trades, let's take a look at his contract quickly.
I think, isn't he on fine? Is he signed an extension yet? What year did he get drafted? 22, 23?
Good question. I don't know. I think it was... Not sure. Let's have a look. Where are we? Over the cap. There we go. I prefer to go to this one. It's more consistent. His contract runs until 2026.
Right.
It's paid through till 2026. So after this year, he's got 1 year left on his contract. The cap number is about 15 million.
Yeah. So it depends. I mean, if I'm them, I don't think they should be in any rush to trade him, because if they're going to be rebuilding and they feel like they've got something in Rattler, then you need good players around Rattler. You don't really be trading your best receiver.
I think if they're going to trade anybody, they'll either trade an Alvin Kamara or Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah,
I think they'll trade one of those two, just not to the Bills, hopefully. But no. Eventually, you know, some of the Patriots' own pressures began to get home. But if you're wondering why there were so many completions underneath zone, dropping corners, New England gave the Saints receivers plenty of cushion in Sunday's game. The Pats defense, they forced a fumble, and it was the key fumble we talked about already. So they right the ship when it counted, but the shaky starts are becoming a theme for this side of the ball. It is worrying me a little bit. It is starting to slightly worry me a bit. I know it's a bend, don't break, but there is a certain way you bend, don't break. And we're just sort of giving up way too... It's like we're giving the opposition a bit too much respect to say, yeah, dare you to throw on this.
Yeah, but then we just maybe take a little bit of time to settle, but it's not come back to bite us really. Maybe the Raiders game, but we didn't play well in the second half in that one. I feel like we probably need to have a conversation about what happens with Kyle Duggar, because he's barely played this season, and then he got thrusted into a starting role again in this game because Hawkins was out, and he got burned on the first play. It's a weird one with him because we know that Duggar's a good player. Like, he's been a dependable safety for us for 5 years, but I don't know whether the injuries have just caught up with him and whether it's time for us to trade him, because it was rumours he was going to get traded in the off season, and then we ended up releasing Peppers, which to me still makes no sense. Like, I would still have Peppers starting in this defense 100%.
Yeah,
but
I
if
still find that
Duggar isn't
strange.
going to be a part of your future, he's on a contract extension. You've got to trade him. Like, the fact that he played one snap against Buffalo, and in this game against the Saints, he's playing like 55. And no wonder he's rusty because he's not played. So I think we need to look at that. But I still think we need a safety. Like, Woodson showed a lot of potential so far this season for the long term, but I ain't sold on Jalen Hawkins as a full-time starter. I think he could be a good Jerron Harmon kind of player, like that third safety that factors in on certain downs. But if you want a full-time starting safety, I just don't think he's it. I don't think it's going to be remotely possible because of the season we're having. But if we could somehow get Caleb Downs, that would be unbelievable.
What, is that in the draft or?
Yeah, in the draft. Like, if we could draft Caleb Downs, that would be remarkable.
Well, safeties don't usually go that high in the draft anyway, so we're gonna be picking in the 20s. So
he's going to be picked in the top 10. I think he's that good. But we definitely need to look at that. I don't know if it's something they'll look at this season, but that would be one of my priority ads for the next off season, because I'm just not convinced that we're overly deep there. And like we've been speaking about all season, we're not giving an awful lot up on the perimeter, but over the middle of the field against linebackers and safeties, we are getting we're giving up a lot of yards in that area.
Spillane is a very good linebacker when it comes to stopping the run, but as a pass defender at linebacker, he's just not got the juice for it. I don't think.
No.
Christian Ellis can only do so much. He's getting better, but we need more of it. So I can safely say right now, the 3 positional needs, or rather 4 positional needs right now, if it's in the draft, we're looking at safety, you're looking at pass rush, you're looking at edge, you're looking at linebacker, and you're probably looking at interior O-line as well.
I would look right now. I would look for the future right tackle with the first pick, because Morgan Moses, as good as he's been for us, he'll be 35 next season. I would like to have what the Jets have got, and that's one of the only positive the Jets have got, is bookend young tackles. If we can find the long-term successor at right tackle and ride him and Will Campbell into the future for the next 10 years, we are set.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be the priority there, I think.
I was watching a lot of college football this weekend, but unfortunately, no right tackles jumped out to me on the page, unfortunately. So
there's a couple. We might be in range for this. Fano from Utah is one of them.
I'm not watching Utah. They play at 3 o'clock.
And then you got Mauagoa from Miami. There's a couple that could be in range for us. To be fair, but
it's a long way off. Yeah, well, we'll get there when we get to it. Okay, obviously Nick's got his draft board ready to go, and he'll give us some input as ever.
Just on the coverage though, Carl, Marcus Jones is having an outstanding season,
which is what I was about to go into.
Oh, that's good timing.
Very good timing. Captain Marcus Jones, he's on a 2-game heater. He's been one of the Pats' best players. Okay, on Sunday, he forced an incompletion on the wheel route, nearly intercepted the pass in zone coverage on the sideline, and recorded his first career sack on a key 3rd down stop. The guy just knows how to do absolutely everything. Kickoff returner, punt returner, interceptor, pass breaker. He's just phenomenal right now. And I think if we can safely say, I know Carlton Davis, hang on, I will bring this up in a minute. I don't really want to lose this page. Oh, screw it. I will just go to my bookmarks because I think I penciled. Oh, it's the wrong one. No, it's the wrong one. Okay. There was a couple of breakups that I saw. That of what the defense did in that game. Hang on, is it on my one? I'm pretty sure it's on my one. Might be able to bring this up. Oh, here we go. So Patriots corners versus the Saints. Gonzalez 1 of 2 for 21 yards. Davis 2 for 2 for 26 yards. Marcus Jones 1 for 5, 8 yards, 3 pass breakups. Marcus Jones is having a really nice season. This is a talented group. I think there's one thing to say. The one thing about our secondary is that our corners are on point. And it's quite ironic. Ever since Christian Gonzalez has returned, we're 3-0.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's less pressure on Carlton Davis as well, having to go up against the main guy. But Marcus Jones is like, you understand because of his size and his frame that he's going to give up yards at times, and he's going to lose contested catch situations. But he shows a lot of hustle, a lot of fight. He plays above his size. He's tenacious. He gets his hand on the ball. He can tackle. He can blitz. He can return kicks. Like, he has become really good, and we needed that because we've had an excellent slot corner for the last 6 odd years or so with Jonathan Jones, who was tremendous as a nickel. And now we've got another good one that's really stepped up. There was times last year where he struggled when he was asked to play on the outside. But if you're a 5'8", 5'9" nickel corner and you've been asked to play outside corner against a 6-foot receiver, it's going to be a struggle. But I think, he's playing within his comfort zone again. He looks really good. So, yeah, he's definitely been one of the better players this season on defense. He's turned into a real dependable player, and you can see now why he's a captain as well. Like, yeah, fair play, Marcus Jones. Big respect to him.
Absolutely. No, Marcus should become one of my very, very favorite players in this team right now. He just does so much. Just does so much. The only thing I hope he does is stay healthy, because otherwise, losing Gonzo is bad enough, but Marcus Jones, I mean, it has a different dimension to it. It really does. We are going to have to start being a bit doom and gloom now. Oh dear. The running back unit. I mean, just straight up appalling. When Drake Maye had most yards running the ball, you got a serious issue with your running game. Trayvon Henderson, 9 carries, 27 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, 13 carries for 18 yards. Henderson had 3 yards per carry. Stevenson had 1.4, which is on average throughout the entire team, 2.4 yards. You cannot do anything in that game if you run the ball like that.
No.
And Garrett Bradbury did say in the press conference, in the interview on Monday, he basically said we've got to be better finishing off. We've got to be finishing off our blocks. And it's not like that it's not like we were gone, that Stevenson and Henderson are running straight into our bloody brick wall. There have been gaps that have been appearing. And there was a few times in the Saints game where Stevenson had almost got past the second level. Unfortunately, got tripped up and it was down. And then Henderson had 2 other attempts where he also cut through the hole, and then got to the second level. He just got caught out with just missing the final little bit of a push to the block. I could see the offensive line getting there, but I can also see why we're getting really stressed out running the game. So I'm going to try and be as simple as I can with this, okay? So the Saints, pretty much most of that game, they were playing single high. Well, if people doesn't know what single high safety means, it basically means there's one safety with the corners, and then you got the other safety that's lined up in the box. Basically, lining up in the box, stuffing the run, just plugging up the hole, basically. What the Saints were telling us is they don't respect our receivers. They're saying, well, you're not going to do anything with these receivers, so we're just going to stack the box and we're going to stop you in your running game. And I think this is where we're starting to come a cropper. Because when we kept running the ball on first down. We were so one-dimensional in that game when it came to running the ball on first down because they knew what was coming. There were times that Stevenson got freaking tackled for the loss of yardage. It was that bad. I think at some point in the season, if Drake makes use to air this ball out to Diggs and to Boutte and to Pop Douglas and so on, DC's on the other side of thinking, okay, we might need to pull that safety back in and play cover 2 or move a linebacker in and play cover 3 or something. Because then what that will then do, that will start opening up gaps in the running game. And I think that's what we're waiting for. But we also need an explosive player. Now, I know Henderson is an explosive running back, but we still haven't seen it yet. Stevenson, I just wonder if Stevenson is just so worried about is just concentrating on hanging on to that ball for so long that he's forgotten what it is like to run with the ball anymore.
Yeah, so it has been underwhelming from the running backs in terms of what they're doing. I think that is a good point about Stevenson, the fact that he's probably concentrating so much on trying not to fumble that all vision and elusiveness has gone out of the window. With Henderson, like, you just know that it's there at any point. Like, we are using him probably far too much between the tackles for my liking. He's an outside zone runner, a stretch play runner. We're not using him to bounce to the outside and take off. Like, we're not using him on running back screens enough. Like, that's what we want to see. I think there's a few factors. I think it's a good point what you're saying about the single high safeties. Teams are stacking the box, not respecting the passing game. I think as Drake continues to shred teams, that might ease up a little bit, and you might see less men in the box, which then results in more running yards. I do think the offensive line, as good as they've been in pass protection, are struggling a bit with running the ball. Their run blocking is not great.
It's down to the guards. I always state it's down to the tackles to pass block to make sure your quarterback stays on your feet, and it's down to the guards to pull to create holes and lanes for the running game. I generally do. I generally feel. I know Wilson's a rookie, so I try and give him a pass. But Michael Onwenu, we've seen him time. We know what he's capable of, but he's just not. He just hasn't. He had a very good PFF grade.
I think if you look at the interior line, though, Wilson and Bradbury aren't the biggest guys in the world, and Onwenu is obviously a bit of a unit, but we don't tend to run to the right that much. Everything seems to go up the gut or to the left. So we're relying on Jared Wilson and Garrett Bradbury. Like, we're not running behind Mike Onwenu. Like, so I think that's something that needs to be looked at, the run blocking. Yes, the running backs need to do more when they do get the gaps. That's definitely true. I also think, like we said earlier in the show, we've got a fullback on the roster in Jack Westover, who I just don't think is big enough. Like, he's a tight end at college at University of Washington. He's been converted into this kind of H-back hybrid, but he's not, as much as he was a blocking tight end, he's not like a traditional smashing fullback like a James Devlin, like a Kyle Juszczyk, like a Patrick Ricard. Those guys that can level someone and blow up a hole for you. Like Jakob Johnson when he was with us after we lost James Devlin. I feel like we need like an old school throwback fullback that's just going to smash someone and open a hole for Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson.
I would say, why don't we trade for Juszczyk for the 49ers?
Yeah, so like, I mean, there'd be fullbacks. I said it in the offseason. I was quite surprised that this didn't happen, but Kari Blasingame was the fullback in Tennessee when Vrabel was there. Now, he's a traditional fullback by trade. I think he might be with the Bears at the moment. He was someone I thought we'd probably look to bring in. Or maybe Josh McDaniels looks to bring Jakob Johnson back, having worked with him before. Like, I just feel like Jack Westover isn't offering a lot as a fallback at the moment. There are lots of factors why the running game isn't working, but like, obviously you're in the same boat as me, Carl, in the sense that I'm just still not keen on giving Ramondre the ball as much as we are. I know we've got Gibson out. I would just like, I'd be
which
more.
Which is why I'm thinking if we just that's why Terrell Jennings got elevated from the practice squad. He was in the 53 man, so he was actually in New Orleans. But we barely saw him.
Yeah,
He didn't even play.
that was always going to be
which is
the case.
head scratching to me.
I think it was always going to be the case, but like I know we're all waiting for the Travion Henderson breakout, and look, he has been underwhelming in the sense that in the preseason when he was ripping up every practice session, ripping up joint practices, looked remarkable in the preseason friendlies, and we were thinking, fucking hell, he's going to rush for 1,000 yards this season and like be a rookie of the year candidate. And he's not got anywhere near that, and we're still waiting for that. But we do know the difference between him and Stevenson is that we know that breakout and that home run ability is there, and it's coming at some point. That is definite. I know we've been saying this for 6 weeks, but it is coming at some point. We know what Ramondre Stevenson is. He's been on the team for 5 seasons. Like, we know that if he's running in treacle for most of the game, he's probably not going to generate much. But it only takes one moment where we do get the right blocking, when we're not facing a stack box, when we get everything we need for Henderson to hit the hole, and he's taking off for a 50-60 yard run. Like, it's going to happen. So I'd rather us try to get something going with Henderson rather than just keep giving Stevenson far too many carries, particularly late in the game when it's so tight, thinking that he could fumble at any point.
I agree. Well, look, I agree, but it's got to get sorted. I mean, we're playing Tennessee this Sunday, so hopefully we might be able to get a little bit more better there. As I said, there was some fourth down decisions which were quite perplexing during that game. There's one thing I do question Vrabel on sometimes. I question him, or I question his insanity. Is the amount of time we're going for it on fourth down. So
I like it.
I don't mind it, but there was just a few fourth and 1 or 4th and 2 in like the opposition's 30. You don't want to kick a field goal? Fine, go for it. Don't care. Your balls to the wall. Pause. You're gonna go for it, right?
It's him and Stretch, though, isn't it? You know, John Stryker, Stretch. You know, he's up in the booth and up in the wherever he is, and he's the ones. You know, obviously Vrabel's go-to guy when it comes to strategy and like telling him to go for it. Like, and we have been incredibly aggressive on fourth down this year, but our conversion rate's really high. You know, I think the only blotch we had on Sunday was the missed snap from Garrett Bradbury, but we've nailed pretty much everything else on fourth down. I like the fact that not only are we being really aggressive on fourth down, but we're being aggressive with challenges as well. And Vrabel is like showing big boy bollocks at times to go for big decisions, like those challenges and like those fourth downs. I like it rather than being too conservative. Like, sometimes you've just got to take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, no, we're better. We're going to get this. So yeah, I don't necessarily mind it.
It's not so much as that. The only decision was on the failed fourth down in the first half, and that was the one with the botched snap by Bradbury.
Yeah.
That was the one that's like, that's not Drake's fault. That was just the center not snapping the ball properly because it went past Drake, and it ended up on our 47. So, you know, not great, but, you know, I like a coach which is now headstrong and to say, yeah, we're going to go for it on fourth down. I'm not scared to not go for it on fourth down. I mean, if you're good, there are still going to be some common sense approach where, you know, you take the points, you kick the field goal, you take the points. You don't try and overthink the situation. That's the only thing that slightly worries me with Vrabel. Maybe in a certain game where, you know, we might need to take the points in this one, he goes for fourth down and maybe it bites us in the backside at some point. I don't know. You may have heard, guys, that we've left something out till very last. Because if we'd lost the game, this will be the first thing we're bringing up right at the very start of the show. But because we won, we're going to bring this up right to the end, okay? So I'm going to try and bring this up. This might be a little bit small on the screen. Probably is going to be a bit smaller. Is that going to be too small on the screen? Yeah, that's going to be way too small on the screen. So I do apologize for this, guys. I can't quite zoom in properly. But so this was notes taken down by Patriots beat reporter Mike Reese. This is what you have to say regarding of the penalties, okay? To say that was one of the most poorly officiating games in recent memory might be an understatement. That is tough to write because there was a lot of respect for officiating, how hard it is, and how fast the game moves. So no sense wasting much time on the obvious, other than to say when the public is given reason to question, If something is on the up and up, it's not a good thing for anyone involved. Among the players that fall into this category include a penalty coming in so late after a dramatic 61-yard scoring play that both teams' special teams units were on the field when the call was made. An obvious 2-point conversion being ruled short, which that was turned over in the end. A Saints player being ruled down before a lost fumble, which that got turned over. Some questionable spotting of the football. Example, 2-minute drill of the Hunter Henry catch. A Patriots player being ruled out of bounds when he stayed in to keep the clock rolling with the game on the line. And a member of the crew, 40, look, he put it in capital letters, by the way, 40 yards away from the play, launching his flag on the 51-yard completion when Stephon Diggs simply put his hand on a defender's back. And he's put it in brackets here. How could he even judge if there was separation created from that distance? If I didn't think the Saints had at least one call that fell into this category, example, the PI against wide receiver Carl Williams, that was blatant PI, by the way, I'd be more skeptic about intentions of landing on the thought that this crew simply had a bad day. We all have them, but it's fair to expect more. Those were Mike Reese's notes that he brought up there. So, I mean, where do you want to start with this? Because there was a lot wrong.
It was the most inept and abhorrent officiating performance I've seen for a very, very long time. It seemed like nobody had an understanding of the rules. It seemed like they were making it up as they went along. The time delay on some of the penalties was disgusting. I don't know what they were seeing. You know it's bad when the commentary team are perplexed and they're even bringing in Gene Steratore, who was obviously, had a very good career as a top official.
Yeah, he had some shady games. Just be real, he had some shady games.
And he's looking at that saying, like, I have no idea what they've called there. So for the Pop Douglas touchdown that was taken off, the team celebrated, gone back to the bench, and then they thrown the flag.
They threw the flag out.
It gets to a point where it's too late. Even if you think, oh, we might have made a mistake there, we think that might have been pass interference when it wasn't. It's too late at that point. Teams come off the field, celebrated, done. They're back on the bench. You can't then throw the flag and say, come back on now. We didn't like that. It just makes a whole mockery of it. It was a disgraceful performance, and it just kept happening. They were trying everything they can to try and screw us out of that game. And I genuinely believe that they overturned that fumble decision for Jawan Johnson because of guilt. Now, that was very touch and go.
That's not the only make-up call they made.
Yeah, I think it probably is just a fumble, but I think that quite easily could have been stood. Like, they could have stood as, a catch and maintain possession. But I genuinely think, because he watched it twice, the head referee, he watched it on two different monitors. I genuinely think that because they know they messed up twice on two big plays, that they feel like if they'd have made one more bad call like that against New England, that could have been really, really severe. That I genuinely think that they thought we better give this one if it's touch and go, because like we've already messed up twice. So that's my theory on it. It was just awful. They need to be investigated, or at least, like, if they don't want to do an investigation, at least they need to be spoken to and potentially, like, not fined, but disciplined and stuff like that. The league needs to go to them and say, look, that was a real abomination of a performance. Why you flagged those things, we have no idea. Like, you've got to be better than that. You can't be doing that, and really hold them to account for it. Now, I don't know what the NFL Referees Association is like, but knowing what the FA is like in England, where they basically just sugarcoat everything and wrap the referees in bubble wrap, and as far as they're concerned, no referees can ever make a bad decision. They're never wrong. They're referees. The sun shines out of their arse. That's what the FA are like in this country. Like, I've dealt with it firsthand in my previous job. But I don't know what the NFL Referees Association is like, but they definitely need to be held to account for that, because that was an abomination.
Well, I was watching the Bills Falcons game, and the officiating they pretty much got all their decisions spot on.
Yeah,
But I'll go say is this: you say the NFL needs to speak to them. If I was an NFL official and I was coming down to speak to these refs, you know what? The first thing I would say to them: give me your phones, or either unlock your phones, because I want to see if you had any money on this game. And the reason why I say that, 25-19, that equals 44 points. After that game, I went on to CBS's website because they do their spreads before the game. I managed to get hold of one. Do you know what the over-under was? 45.5. And you're telling me that 61-yard touchdown and that Stephon Diggs offensive pass interference call was apparently legit. Get the fuck out of here. I'll be looking at their phones and saying, have you had any money on this? Because gambling is rife now. The worst thing the NFL have done, and the worst thing the United States of America have done, is now gone and legalized gambling in many states, especially Vegas. Now you've opened up a humongous can of worms.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, if that ever got proven to be true, like, that's fine.
We have this in the country where if you're a footballer, you're not allowed to bet on games.
No, I know. I'll extend that, Carl. You know, as someone who's been employed and worked for a professional football club for 7 years, even if you're the tea lady, or you just pick up the players' pants off the dressing room floor, if you are paid by that football club and you are under contract, you are not allowed to bet on any professional football match around the world. Even the Venezuelan 4th division under 18s, you could not bet on. So, yeah, that would be serious. It would be a fine. It would be a suspension and potentially even legal matters as well, because that's match fixing and that's a crime. So,
it's a crime.
Yeah, so I don't think that's what happened. But if that ever got proven, that'd be so serious that it would become a huge story.
It's shaving what the refs pretty much have done in that game is shaved points. And I always go back to that scene in The Longest Yard where Chris Rock is saying, "A shaving points of a football game? Investors un-American. So why the fuck are you doing it?"
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll I don't know, but it was really bad, really bad, and hopefully it can't get much worse than that, or we'll get a better crew this weekend. But that was a shit show.
That was appalling. But we come away with the win.
But I guess if they didn't flag the 2 big plays we had chalked off, Maye would have had an extra 113 yards at a touchdown. We'd have been talking about Drake Maye throwing for over 380 yards and 3 touchdowns on the road. I mean, we already spoke about him being the 4th favorite for MVP.
Four touchdowns. That one count.
Yeah, 380 and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, we'd have been talking about him even more as an MVP candidate after that. If he'd have put up 380 and 4, 100%. He still hasn't had a 303 game yet. So yeah, it was a real shame because we had 2 remarkable plays chalked off. The Diggs catch down the sideline was so good.
Yeah, and it
we
got chalked
spoke
off
about
because
him
because apparently the ref was 40 yards down the line, and apparently he saw that it was off.
What was Diggs' box score?
You can't 40 yards down the line? Are you playing OPI on Diggs? You can't see that down there.
What was Diggs' box score in the end, Carl?
3 catches, 28.
Right, so you're looking at if that one stands. What was the one that was ruled out? Was it like 45, 50 yards, maybe?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at. We say that wasn't much of a factor in this game, but if he didn't get flagged, there was no stupid flag on that play.
4 receptions. It'll be 4 receptions, 78.
Yeah, 4 receptions, 78 yards. Like that's fine. Like when he wasn't relied on as the wide receiver 1 because Kayshon Boutte had a massive game. So yeah, like. It's fine. We'd be talking about it in a completely different manner, but the referees tried to spoil it. But thankfully, it didn't come back to bite us, and we still managed to get the win in the end, and we fully deserved the win. And we've overcome some adversity. Sometimes, overcoming adversity like that when seems like everything's stacked against you and the officials are even trying to cost you the game, like, and you still come through it. That could be a huge confidence boost.
At the end of the day, we got the win. And then to top it all off, where is it?
That was incredibly distorted.
Oh, sorry. That's fourth win now.
Yes, we've
now
equaled the
tied
win
and
total
now
for
tied.
the last 2 seasons after 6 games, which not surprising, but yeah, a nice relief. Also, I think it's the first time we've won 4 of our first 6 since 2019 as well.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
So we're having our best season in 6 years, which is fantastic. Once again, thank you to the Atlanta Falcons for beating Buffalo last night. The first time we have led our division after 6 games since 2019. And with the schedule we've got coming up, I tell you what, squeaky bum time, Buffalo, because we are right in the mix for this division at the moment.
This is our third full year doing this, okay? And the last 2 years and a little bit when we first started out were just absolutely horrid. It's like defeat after defeat after defeat. It's like, yeah, we've got to do this podcast on a Tuesday, haven't we? But it's nice when you're winning because then it means you talk about it, but you got a smile on your face, and it just feels you're a lot more relaxed doing it.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I've been with the podcast now for a season and a half. You know, you guys done the first season when I before I become a part of it, and during those years, we never would have opened the podcast with big booty bitches. We would have never opened up with your other comedic intros we've had this season, like from The Longest Yard and all kinds. So, we're having some fun with it now, and we're having great preview shows, speaking to guests from other teams, and it's been really great. And I think what's also been great about this season, not only are we being really competitive with Buffalo this year, like, and we are now challenging them for the division, which none of us thought would happen. Like, the rest of the AFC East is, God, putrid. Like, big booty energy. Yeah.
Big booty energy.
Patriots fan, big booty energy. I hope you saw the big booty bitches video at the start of the podcast, because
we'll play at the end as well, just in case anybody's doing it.
But
anyway.
yeah, the rest of our division is, a shower of shit. It's a 2-horse race. We thought we'd be, quite comfortably in second. But it looks like it's going to be a battle between us and Buffalo for the division crown, and the Jets and Dolphins are already looking ahead to the draft because they are an absolute disaster.
And that's the thing, though. We weren't expecting division winners, weren't we? We was like, right, we get 10 wins, wild card. I think we'll be quite satisfied with that. But the way it's now all panning out, it's like, do you know what? Nah. This AFC East title is actually within our reach.
And the AFC is so wide open this year because there's been, obviously, the Ravens and the Bengals are out of contention because of their injuries.
But the Chiefs are coming back. The Chiefs are coming back. That's not coming back.
Yeah, but the AFC is still wide open for us to get into the playoffs. I as of this moment now, think we will be a playoff team. Like, whether that's as a division winner, I don't know. It's still a long way to go. But I certainly think we'll be one of the wild card teams.
If Buffalo loses to the Panthers, I'm going to have a field day.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think the Panthers have won their last 2.
They have. They really have bounced back. We could put one game between first and second place in the East. Yeah, we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, remember, we have the tiebreaker already. So right now we're still forward to the top, but it's only because of a tiebreaker. So
and we
one game will be
Buffalo
nice.
Again at home later in the season, and if
after the bye as well, we have a bye. We have a bye week to rest, and then they come to our place. If we win that game, and let's just say it is, we only have a 1-game lead. We beat that game. That's not only a 2-game lead, but it's also a sweep.
But it's also
to make that 2.5. So now we got the Ravens. Then you got the Ravens, who no one knows what's going to happen with the Ravens yet.
I mean, Lamar should be back by then, so that will be tough.
He should be, but are the Ravens going to be in playoff contention still by then?
Yeah, I think what the difference of the Buffalo game is, in previous seasons when we've been out of contention, they've come in and beat us because we're not competitive and they're going for the division title. This time around, by the time we play them again, it could legitimately be a shootout for who wins the division. We might actually have something on the line.
That could be one of 2 potential. That could be between a potential of 1 of 2 games that could get flexed out.
Yeah.
or flexed into prime time. So here's what I'll say. Obviously, this week we've got Tennessee. Hopefully, we'll have a guest on. If not, it will just be you and I on Friday. But hopefully, we will have a guest on.
We're working on it.
We are still working on it. Then you got the Browns, and then you got the Falcons. If we win those 3 games, we go 7-2 into Tampa Bay. There's a bloody good chance, because I think we're playing at 6 p.m. against Tampa. That could get flexed either to prime time or 9:25. And I hope it's 9:25. You want to know why? Because the NFL will be missing a freaking trick if they don't put that game on Fox and Tom Brady's commentating on it.
I think 9:25 is more likely. Doug Kyde and Michael Hurley spoke about this on Pat's chat the other day. And if you look at the primetime game for that Sunday Night Football, it's unlikely to change. I think it's quite a good game.
Steelers Chargers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think 9:25 is definitely more likely, because if they put it to the late window, I think that's got a chance. And like you said, if they put Brady on Fox, then that's going to be really, really good. See, DJ's going to lost the Falcons. I don't get too carried away after last night. Like, Michael Flasikinas has still got to come and play us. Like, I don't know.
He's messaged me. He said he's drunk. So
fair enough.
that's why he's not on.
Carl, I just also wanted to congratulate you, actually, and everyone else listening this, and maybe even myself, because all of us collectively had more net passing yards than Justin Fields on Sunday. Like, I passed for more than a former first-round pick.
I mean, at least Kerry Collins had a pretty good excuse when he had -7 yards. When he had -7 yards passing in his game in 2009, because it was in the middle of a fucking blizzard.
No,
and we know that because that was against us. That was the 59-0 shutout where Brady threw 5 touchdowns in the bloody snow. At least Kerry Collins actually had an excuse to say, "Well, I've never played in the snow before." I'm like, "All right, fine. There's your excuse. -7 passing yards." This was in freaking good old rainy old England. Well, not really that much rain. It was quite sunny, 18 degrees, 5-mile-an-hour winds, light breezes, perfect conditions. -10 passing yards. You are a disgrace. Anybody who went to that game, right? This is a straight out, because I'll put this out on Heard of the Line on Thursday, so I'll do the same thing. I'll do this right now, okay? Anybody who went to the London game, right? If you're a Jets or Broncos fan, your best parts were probably pre-game with all the drinks or the pre-party on the Saturday night, and then red zone and afterwards when you finish, right? But more to you, right? And if you as a neutral went there and you're just an average fan, I applaud you for going. But I also demand you to get a refund from the NFL. You sue the NFL for deceptive advertising, and then you put out a campaign or a petition to take the marketing rights of the United Kingdom for the New York Football Jets. I do not want to see that scumbag team in the UK for the next 5 years. I don't want to see them.
Yeah. It's like genuinely the NFL they genuinely need to look at these games they're giving to the UK, because I know you've got a game this weekend between 2 potential playoff teams, Jags and...
Which was the best game on paper out of the 3. When that came out, that was the best game on paper.
It is, but the UK is quite bored of Jacksonville now. As even though they're better than when they were coming over here in the early years, they're still boring. Like, people are fed up of seeing them every year. And I think most people, including myself, prefer Tottenham as a venue to Wembley, because Wembley's an ag to get out of. And it doesn't have as much as a good atmosphere. Like, they've got to stop sending us these shit games, because it seems like Brazil have got back-to-back good games 2 years in a row. Okay, Madrid has got Commanders, Dolphins. That's not great. I think that there isn't Colts, Giants in Germany. That's not great either. Although that'd be better than the London game. But
I'll tell you what, Jackson Dart playing. Yeah. I think that might make the game a little bit more interesting.
But everybody knew going to that game on Sunday that Jets Broncos was going to be a shit game. You could see it coming a mile off. Now, Denver's defense is arguably the best in the league. They've got 30 sacks in 6 games, 10 more than any other team. Right, this defense is legit, but their offense is not good. It's boring. Bo Nix is very so-so. Not a bad quarterback, but very so-so. They've got an okay running back in Dobbins. Sutton's fairly good, but they're not good to watch offensively. The Jets have got about 5 good players, and they're putrid. And they held the Broncos because their offense isn't good. And everyone could see that coming a mile off, that it was going to be low scoring. And for the fans to suffer through 3.5 hours of a 13-11 game like that, it's just not a good advert for the game. If they want to continue to grow the game internationally, you've got to stop giving international markets games like that, because people will stop coming. And they're increasing the ticket prices every single year. But people are going to get fed up. They don't want to pay 150 quid to watch Justin Fields throw for minus 10 yards. It's just, that's not what they're about. So they need to seriously look at this, because the crowds will start to drop if they keep giving games like this. It's just terrible. And just my second note is, can we please get Garrett Wilson out of New York? I don't care to any other team in the NFL. I don't care if he goes to the Ravens, to Kansas City, to Buffalo. I genuinely don't care. He is far too good to be wasted playing on a trash heap of a team like that with a QB that can't throw for more than minus 10 yards. He's far too good to not be successful. You put him with a decent quarterback, he has 1,000-yard season and potentially double-digit touchdowns. He's an outstanding receiver, but he's got really poor quarterback play. And then you look on the other side of the ball, Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, elite players at their position. There are 5 elite players on that team that are being held hostage by the fact that they are a terrible organization that makes terrible decisions. And I've said it, you can go back to last season. Bad franchises make bad decisions. And this is why the Browns are always shit. This is why the Jets are always shit. This is why the Titans are always shit. It's always the same teams picking at the top end of the draft, give or take a couple. And the reason is because they are poorly run and they continually make poor decisions. We can all see it coming into the offseason that Justin Fields was not good enough to be a starting QB. And the Jets went, well, we'll take you. You'll be a starting quarterback for us. And then they wonder why it's going tits up. Everyone could see it coming. They're just terribly run. Really terribly. They fired Joe Douglas, who was a fantastic general manager who identified a lot of talent. And now look at them. They're an absolute mess. Aaron Glenn is not getting anything out of that team. And I know we laugh at them for being the shit on our shoe, but I actually genuinely feel sorry for them in a way, and some of their players, because you said it earlier, Carl, we've had a couple of really dismal seasons. We've not been competitive since Matt Jones' year, really.
2021.
And that's only a few years. The Jets have had 16 years of this. Even though there are some teams that were poor for years that have turned it around, the Lions are now great. So it can be done if you make the right decisions, but I can see it happening now. The Jets will get the number 1 pick in the draft, and they'll pick the wrong quarterback. They'll pick someone who'll be a bust. So
more than likely.
Yes, bad franchises make bad decisions. No wonder they're struggling. But
dysfunction always starts from the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I do look forward to the day we have the Jets podcast preview, when we get the UK Jets fan on, or UK Jets podcast on. We have banter and we take shots at them and whatnot, but ultimately on our preview shows we try to be as professional as possible. That's going to be really difficult to have a legitimate conversation about them, because my God, it genuinely might be we might turn into the Samaritans for the night.
Yeah. It's going to be very hard to keep a straight face on that one. on that one. But listen, we will. As I said, we are trying to be as professional as we can. But when the donkey's lost a leg and he ain't going anywhere, it's just hopping around. All you do is just laugh and feel pity. That's all we can do. Delusional Pat was saying Jermaine Johnson. They won't trade Jermaine Johnson. I never will. And we might have to pay someone to come on.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you know what it's about.
The Jets' D-line is pretty good. Look, their defense held the Broncos to 13 points, and I know I said the Broncos' offense isn't good, but still, that's not bad.
Yeah,
They've got some good players on that D, but they're just so bad to watch.
Neither offense.
They're trading Breece Hall now.
Well, this is the last year of his contract. Because they got him in the second round, he doesn't have a 5th-year option. So they're either cashing now or they let him walk in free agency.
Yeah, because let's be honest, if you are a New York Jets player who is 0-6, your QB can't get anything going, and you're about to hit free agency, why would you resign? Why would you resign? They're lucky they've already re-signed Garrett Wilson because he would be out the door.
Well, no, because he's just signed, because in the offseason he signed a new contract, didn't he?
Yeah. So now it's like he's
he's got like the freaking ball and chain wrapped around his bloody ankle. Now he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah,
he ain't going anywhere. They could tag DJ is right about one thing. They could tag Breece Hall, but that's just basically you're holding the running back then to ransom. And especially if he don't want to be there, then let the player go.
Yeah.
Because you've got more issues to worry about than a bloody running back. There's more issues to worry about. They won't trade Garrett Wilson. They won't, because now he's got too much money on the docket now.
Could they go 0-17? I think it's a possibility. But
it's a possibility. I don't think they will. Originally, I said their first win will be week 8 against the Bengals. That's where I could probably see their first win come from.
Yeah, it kind of tells you, like history tells you, that even the really bad teams tend to notch, a couple of wins here and there, 2 or 3 wins. So it wouldn't shock me if they finished like 3-14. Like they would still probably get the number 1 overall pick. But yeah, it's hard to see where a win's coming from in that one. I certainly don't think it's going to be against us, and if it is, Jesus Christ,
no. I mean, Thursday night football, we are on a short turnaround.
Yeah.
Shit does happen on Thursday night. I hate Thursday night football. I hate it with an absolute glaring passion. At least we only have 1 game this time. But yeah. Right. I think we've had enough of slapping up the Jets for now. I think we'll call it a night. We're sitting at 4-2, top of the AFC East. I can't believe I'm going to say it. We're top of the AFC East. That feels brilliant. Kieran, as always, thank you so much. As always, hopefully we'll see you, and we'll see you on Friday, whether or not we have a guest or not for the preview against Tennessee. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. Thank you to everyone that's been listening. Make sure you smash the like button on the way out. Hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Follow us on our social media platforms. Make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple. We are out of here. We'll be back on Friday night for the preview against Tennessee, and we will leave you with big booty bitches. Kieran, I've got one last thing to say before we get on out of here. How do you feel about winning in the Big Easy?
Oh yeah.
See you Friday.
1, 2, 3, I got big booty.